It's the holiday season, and one of the hot items this year, ebook readers. We bring in the TechV panel to talk about exactly which one is the right one for you.
Try GoToMeeting free for 30 days. Visit gotomeeting.com/techpodcasts.
One of the most notable products this year that we've seen a flurry of activity with is the ebook reader category. Now, before we had the Amazon Kindle, this year we've seen an updated version of the Kindle. We've seen new Sony e-readers. There's one from Barnes & Noble called the Nook, and countless others. So there's one of these that you can't actually get for the holiday season because they're out of stock and they're not going to be back before the holidays. It's the Barnes & Noble Nook. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, the Nook is Barnes & Noble's reader. It's got an e-ink screen. I think it's a 6-inch screen, same size about the Kindle. But instead of having a keyboard on the bottom, they have a LCD panel that is a touch screen. So you can actually do things, we're assuming like navigation and choosing your books and moving around the actual book a lot faster than you could on an e-ink display. And it gives it a huge advantage over the regular books like Sony's e-reader and Amazon's Kindle, I think.
Yeah, and there's another one coming out next year, allegedly, that's called the Alex, that is basically the exact same Barnes & Noble design, and they're sort of in legal dispute and blah, blah, blah. So check out that after CES. We're expecting to see it there, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Eric, now, out of all these other ones, maybe what's one of your favorites?
So the Sony Reader Daily Edition is coming out, and that's going to be one from Sony, the only one that's coming with a 3G connection, 7-inch screen, upgradable memory, and the killer feature for me is the ability to go to your local library and rent books from the library, which might include audiobooks at this point.
And this is, it's supposed to be free of cost, so you don't have to pay anything or do anything. It's just hooking it up with your local library and getting those ebooks for free, right?
Right. Which I'd pay it's a $400 device, but it might be worth that premium just to be able to get free books for it.
Definitely. And now there's some other ones, too, that are around the block. Iyaz, what are some of the other Sony readers that are maybe the supporting cast of characters?
I think these other two are out right now, though. There's the Sony Pocket Edition, which has that kind of like iPod-style directional wheel in the middle. And there's another one called the Touch Edition, which surprisingly has a touch screen.
Go figure.
I don't know if they've changed their touchscreen technology, because the last time I've seen that stuff, it's really, really reflective, but I haven't seen the latest one yet.
Yeah, we'll have to really, I want to see that in person before I make a decision on that. So maybe check that out. I know that Sony has some pretty good relationships with some retailers for their ebook presence. You know, you've seen them in like Best Buy or some other big boxes. So
but you can just go to Sony Style. I mean, nobody's there. And you get your hands on these books all the time. I mean, every time I get into a Sony Style store, I'm usually about 1 of 3 people, and there's the Touch, well, the old Touch. And it goes, it works, but like, nobody seems to care.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what's interesting about what Barnes & Noble is doing, because they're actually carrying, does anybody remember the name of the other reader they're going to carry in store?
I feel like it's the IREX Iliad. I'm not 100%
No, they
sure
have the
on
Q.
That.
It's the Q.
Q, the business
oh, that's right, that's right. I totally forgot
It's the one we've only seen in profile.
Right.
Because it's so cool that we can't see it head on, or our eyes will blow out of our heads.
Yeah, very nice. And there's a bunch of other ones too. I don't know, Iyaz, help me out here. There's a couple other. I guess we should let's talk Kindle. How about that? I mean, that's the one that we're kind of, it's sort of the 300-pound gorilla in the room. They've had a bunch of versions. 3G wireless connectivity. They kind of pioneered the idea that you should be able to access books wherever you are. I don't know, Iyaz, you have a Kindle. What's kind of been your experience with it?
Well, and don't forget, they just added in a new feature. There's
Today,
going
actually,
to be
right?
PDF actual like support on Kindles from now on. And there's going to be a firmware upgrade through their WhisperNet to allow that. Plus, they're saying that with this firmware upgrade, you will get 85% more battery life while on standby. That's with the wireless on.
Yeah.
So they really turned things up, because the Nook, you can't buy the Nook right now. You can't buy the Q. And I still think the Sony readers are forgettable.
Yeah.
So they're really turning up their game. I've lived with the Kindle for a while. What I found is it's really easy on the eyes, but then one of the weirder things is it's just really hard to hold because of that keyboard down there. You want to put your thumb there, but then you're searching for something by accident.
Yeah.
There's a very small space there, because you have a real book, you put your finger anywhere, there's no fingerprints, but you have a screen. And which makes me kind of curious about the Sony this Daily Edition. If it's 7 inches of screen, where do you put your hands?
Yeah.
There's a picture on the website. You can see what hands look like on the device.
But it's like this, right? They're clinging onto this thing, and you eventually start. We'll have arthritis due to this.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's worse than a video game controller.
Yeah, we'll have to see definitely on. I don't know. I'm kind of, my heart says Kindle, but my eyes say Sony Reader. I really want to see Sony come out with what they've got there. I don't know, Eric, you're kind of into the Sony thing.
The daily edition just looks like my device.
Yeah, is it? I don't know. What's the real differentiator there for you?
Well, and the other thing about the Sonys that I really like is they also built in all of the, the legal trouble going on with Google taking the, abandoned books and whatever. Well, Sony actually has an application for the PC which will utilize all those books. So you have that library of access too for free.
Well, and that's also available. I mean, it's EPUB, so you can basically get that on any device.
Any EPUB you want to put on, it doesn't matter. It's going to go on the device.
I think the Kindle supports unprotected EPUB books, and also they have a PC client now. They don't have a Mac version, but they do have the iPhone version, which Sony doesn't have. So a lot of people are kind of weighing those options. To me, like the holiday season, it's really, if Sony gets it out ever, it's that Sony reader versus.
I mean,
Kindle.
for the holidays, the only one people are going to be able to get is the Kindle. So.
Yeah. I mean, they've had a year lead time to sort of figure out production, get all that stuff out, out of the way. Now, the other readers that we didn't really mention that are sort of the underground players in the game, if you will. There's one from IREX. There's a couple others too.
There's the Alex that has the. It's very similar to the Nook. It has I think like a 3-inch touchscreen on the bottom, but it's running Android. So that changes a lot of things. It's much more like a computer, from what I'm understanding about this thing, because then you can have apps and you can actually, I don't know, use it for other things than just reading.
Well, the problem is
if you can pair 3G on that device, it'd be an awesome device.
Yeah, but the problem is like it's vaporware. Like the mock-up that they showed is essentially just Photoshop. Yeah. This is not something we haven't seen yet.
Hey man, it's real.
Yeah,
it's totally real.
It's real in
it's as real as Elvis.
The imaginations of executives at that company. No, anyway, guys, we're gonna leave it there. Final shots. I'm gonna go Sony Reader probably, just because I think that's the one. I like the standard support. I think it's the one for me. Eric, I guess you're Sony Reader as well.
Yep, same reasons.
Sony Reader all the way. Iyaz?
I have an original Sony Reader. I hate it. I have a Kindle too. I don't like it. I want the Nook.
Yeah, the Nook is yours next after the new year. We'll have to check that out. I'm Randall Bennett, and don't forget, you can catch us on iTunes or on YouTube. Maybe we'll transcribe the shows and start putting them on ebook readers for you. I don't know. See what happens with that. Anyway, see ya.
Head to avis.com/techbee and save 10% off any reservation or $30 off a weekly rental.